Hi everyone, well spring is coming, a few glimpses of the beginnings of flowers I'm seeing in floral shops and in Central Park, but today we're going back to Carol's garden and painting some beautiful spring, well they were planted in the spring, they bloomed all throughout the summer. I looked them up, I think they're called blanket flowers or Arizona sun, but they are just lovely and we're going to talk about how rain brings those spring flowers, so grab your supplies and come paint with me. Okay, we're back with another painting in about 20 minutes. We are still going back and looking at some of the pictures from last year. It has been rainy and overcast for days here. The flowers are still not quite blooming, although I did see a few tulips. So I went back to the archives and I pulled out flowers from Carol's garden. And because of all the rain, I've been playing with some wet on wet, doing like a dark sky with like the sun coming through, and then playing off some of the colors of the flowers. And so that is what we're going to do today. Just a very simple sketch. I really wanted to paint and I found a little window of time, just a margin, enough to do this fun sketch. So I hope you paint with me. We don't have the most amazing light today because of all the clouds, but sometimes the cloudy overlight is just perfect. And so I'm going to come in here so you can see the sketch, and I'll have it on the blog as well. The sketch is very easy. I literally took just the heads of the lovely flowers. These are daisy hybrids, as you can see, and I'll look up the name of them exactly, but they are just lovely. There's a lot of leaves going on here, and they just are kind of just free float. I love, even though I took this picture in the summertime, it reminded me of the spring feel of exuberance, of just going with the flow, of letting the wind play and breeze through the flowers. So these are not stiff flowers, they are very much kind of like wildflowers. Okay, so let's go ahead and start painting. It's going to be a little bit of wet on wet, just a little bit, and I thought it'd be fun to just play a little bit with some different colors. So I'm just going to get my background wet, not the whole thing. I'm going to start off with a little bit of a Payne's gray that I'm going to mix with a little bit of blue, and I'm going to just put it around some of the painting, as if we're kind of seeing the background. So you can't see anything, it's just the water. But I'm going to go ahead and over here with my Payne's gray, get that nice and wet. I'm not going to really need a lot of it. I'm going to put a bit of phthalo blue in it, just so it doesn't look super dark black, but more of a gray. And a little bit more black. And so there we go. So I have that now. I'm going to put some more water, and then I'm just going to dab it into where I have that wet area already and around some of these flowers. So because it's a little bit more wet on wet, we might be a little bit messier today, and that is okay with me. Again, just to a spring painting. Beautiful. Just wanted to do something very free-flowing this week. So I'm going to bring that dark background all the way around my flowers back here. I'm going to even bring it a little bit, just a bit of a wash, in between some of the stems. And if it's too dark, you can just add a little bit more water, or take a soft cloth or a paper towel and let it dry. Now I may pause the video here, and I'll tell you when I do, just to let it dry for a few minutes so that things don't get too crazy, right? Okay, so we have the dark. I'm going to put a little bit of a dark background right up here as well. I'll come in closer. And now I'm going to go ahead and add in the light. We'll give it just a minute to dry, not too long, but just so it doesn't merge into all of our flowers. And I'm going to just pick up a little bit of lemon yellow with cadmium and mix it. So I'm just going to mix it. And this had a little, I think a little bit purple in it, so I'm just using some leftover colors from the other day when I was working on a project, and I'm just going to merge them. And I'm even going to let that yellow go into the black a little bit. Pick up some more of the yellow, as if sometimes, when the sun starts popping through the clouds. And then I'm going to move down here, and again, let it merge a little bit. Back here. Okay, just a little bit on the side, not too much because a lot of our interior will be filled with green, but a little bit over here. Okay, that's good. I'm going to actually pick up the darker color again and just put a little bit more right in here, just to create a dramatic effect. We like some drama, right? We like some drama in our art. Maybe not in life, but I like it in the art. Okay, okay, so there we go. I've got my dark colors now, and now that I have that, I'm going to take a smaller brush and I'm going to start painting the centers of the flowers, and I'm going to come in closer so you can see. If you see too on the picture here, the flowers are almost a reddish brown, an orangey brown, even pretty fiery, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to pick up some with my smaller brush. I've got, it's a size 2, I believe. It might be a 4. And it's a 5. It's not quite as small as I thought. Okay, so it's a 5, but if you have anything smaller too, that's going to make it a little bit easier to go into the smaller spots. Sometimes though, when we're painting in the margins of time, we just use what is right here in front of us. So that is what I'm going to do. I have some brown, I have some burnt sienna here, and I have some raw umber. You don't need to use both. They're just kind of mixing them just a little bit, and I'm going to dab. I'm not going to try to color them in per se, but I'm just going to dab the little spiky top centers that they have. And just do the little lines here. On this one, it's really obvious, but like on this one guy, I'm just going to dab, and I'm probably going to add some orange to them as well. So I'm going to just dab, dab, dab over here. Make sure you can see this. I'll even come in a little bit closer. This is really going to pop when we put in the orange and the yellow. I know it looks a bit dull right now, but that is just temporary. So again, I'm going to add the little spikes, and if you see the center of the flowers, they do almost look like they're little spikies coming up from the round area. And just depending on how big so you want to make the centers and how much space you have. If we were painting like on a 9x12, I'd go bigger with the centers, but I can do like that round right here, like that, and then have the centers spiking up. Okay, and then I'll come over here and do this one. I have 9 flowers, and so I'm going to make sure that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This guy's 8, and then 9 right here. And then I am going to grab some orange, and this orange that I am using is an orange that I'd actually mixed from, again, a painting I was working on, and it's a yellow and a pink mixed together. If you have an orange, grab what you have. And I'm just going to spiky, just add that color right into my flowers. And I am going to pick up pink because I have that. I don't have red on my palette. So I have pink. We're not grabbing the purple. I'm just going to write off the pink. But if you have red, use the red. And I'm just using this for the middle to give that a bit of a color pop on that brown. Okay, now I'm looking at my flowers. I'm going to do the green at the last, so I think we're going to be okay continuing to paint here. I'm going to back up a little bit so you can see this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start with the petals, and I'm going to use that yellow. I'm going to use the cadmium yellow, and then I'm going to dip some of that orange into it. So I'm going to get this nice and white. Use whatever yellow you have, though. If I have a medium here, you might have a lemon yellow like is right here, or you might have gamboge. I mean, any of those yellows are going to make a really nice flower. And so just making sure you can see that, I am going to start painting from the inside and then moving out. And if you notice on these flowers, the edges of them, the petals are really interesting because they're they're almost forked at the end. And they come off. Instead of the petals being soft edges, they actually come out pointy. And so I'm going to play with that, and I'm going to try to create the pointy edges. Now I had painted there, or sketched it with a micron pen. You might be sketching with a pencil, and then you can always go over it with the micron pen too. But I'm just going along here, and keeping my brush too it's pretty saturated with paint and not too much water because I want to maintain control over these guys. So I am just moving along here, and I had some blossoms kind of sticking out all over. And I'm even going to dab here at the edge so we start getting the colors to dance just a little bit. And bringing that in so you can see that closer. And again, I'm going to come over here and just move right along. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I was thinking of the saying this morning. I woke up last night and it was just raining, raining, raining. That solid rain that you can tell it's not going away for a while, or it doesn't sound like it. And then I woke up a little bit before the alarm went off, and it was still going, just steady. And I thought of that saying, no rain, no flowers, right? So even though we do get tired, we would just want the spring, the spring weather we love, the warm, sunny days to come out, but we need all this rain. It's gonna help the spring stay so much longer, and it's so good for all of our flower friends who are about, at least here on the East Coast, about to make their debut. Okay, lovely. I'm gonna pull this back so you can see the ones on the bottom, and then quickly, I'm gonna grab my orange that I made, and I'm gonna add that as well. So just moving these guys around. This guy was almost like a flower that was not quite opened up yet. So we're just gonna almost do an umbrella around him. Okay, I'm gonna back this up just a little bit and then come back up. And then I'm gonna pick some orange. And again, this orange, I had mixed cadmium yellow, and then I mixed pink. So if you want it brighter, I'm just gonna add a little bit more pink. And cadmium yellow, this medium hue, it's more opaque. It doesn't play with the other colors as well as like lemon yellow tends to play a little bit better. It's more transparent. So just be aware of that. It's nice because it's a nice bold yellow, but sometimes it doesn't want to blend as much. And you can see here, I'm just going out and almost just going from the inside where I see that fire color and then coming out a little bit. I want to keep it a little bit distinct. Let me come in closer so you can see that. So you can see I want this to be distinct, and then almost to do stripes like I can see on these flowers. Now you can see with this one I'd use a cadmium orange, I believe, and it was wet enough where it all kind of blended, and that's fine too. But on this one I'm trying to stay a little bit more true to form and keeping the colors distinguished from each other. So I can see them like almost on the back side of this flower because it's all sticking up. So I'm just gonna add in a stripe here. Okay, that looks good. I like that, and I like the fact that I can still see the yellow. In fact, I'm gonna take a bit of yellow here, and I'm gonna just be a little bit bolder here and add a bit more yellow, more of that pop here. Extend out some of those petals. Okay, and you can see though too where this one, it's getting just a little bit into the sky. Not a big deal, but I'm gonna come over here and just, you could either take a dry brush. Do I have, this one's dry. Nope, it's not. Let me see, grab a dry brush. Here's a dry brush. And just, you can sop it up, or you can take a paper towel. There we go. And I'm just gonna sop that up, and I might come back and put a little bit more gray. Now the next part we're gonna do is the green. Now I'm gonna use a hooker's green. I want a really cold green, but I want it also to be, I want it to have some boldness to it. We have a lot, you can actually see a lot of yellow green in this, so we can do both. On some of these leaves, I'm gonna grab that green like this, and then I'm gonna add some yellow in the middle of it. Be careful not to put your hand down and then not mush the painting. I did that the other day, and it was like, I mushed the whole thing. I did not mean to. Now here, what you could do is you can then, because cadmium doesn't always play well, I'm not gonna mix it on the page. I'm actually just gonna mix it right over here because I don't want a blob of yellow, but I'm just gonna take that yellow, green now, and just merge it like that. Bring in another color here. I'm gonna just start going along all of my edges. I actually like that yellow green together, and it does look reminiscent of what's in the page, and just add a little bit of the hooker's green as an accent. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to start moving around here. And if you have permanent green, I have some permanent green on my palette here. I can show you what that's going to look like. You can add more leaves too, like I am. You're like, goodness, I think I want to add a few more. It's amazing again how that cadmium yellow, again, it kind of takes over even the green, right? And so I can even mix a little bit more green and just move them all the way down. Go like this. If it's dry enough, you'll be able to paint right over the edge, and I am just using the very tip of my painting and of my paintbrush, so it will not be encouraged to merge. But even if it does, I think with this particular, even the photograph, it's a little bit blurry, and I kind of like that. It's almost one of those portrait photographs where you're seeing not everything is close up, not everything is clear. We can see the most clear item is the faces of the flowers, right? They're bright colors that the camera just grabs. Just is in love with all those bright colors. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to come over here. And remember, watercolor always dries lighter than you think. So if you think something looks a little bit too bold, it's not going to dry that bold. I'm just going to mix a little bit more color here. This does look a little bit bold to me, my leaf up there. And so what I'm going to do actually is, instead of taking the color off, I'm just going to add some of that darker color to where I'm seeing some shadowing or some darker leaves where they would be under shadow, and just combining them. Okay, I've got some other, just going to do a few more leaves additional. It's not super thick like we have in the painting, and that's okay, but it is really pretty. Just again, you can add some more, especially when the background dries, and kind of let everything fade a little bit. I'm going to come and just dab at this leaf right here that got a little bit wet, so we can just dab him. This would also be really fun. You could include this in a journal entry, and maybe what you're, or even it has just a bit of a luminosity to it with the sun coming out right through the dark. When this drops out, actually, I can even, it's dry enough. I can put a little bit of yellow down here as well, so it'll still dry a little bit lighter, but we're going to just catch a little bit of that luminosity, and I'm just going to dab it so it's not too bold. What I can do as well is, when this dries, I'll try a little bit now. We'll see how messy this is going to get. I just want my stems to make sure that they're going somewhere. Sometimes my stems end up like halfway down the page, or they're not attached. So just make sure your flowers are all attached to stems. We can have more stems than flowers, right? But we just don't want to have a flower that's not attached to anything. I'm going to just give this guy one more leaf. Move this one all the way down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It looks like we are good. And everyone's going down. This is the kind of painting too that a lot of times I end up appreciating a little bit more after it dries, and I may come back and make some other little additions. I'm going to go ahead and add a few more additions of stalks at the bottom here to create that sense of almost thickness as well. They were crisscrossing each other, so if you want to be bold, you could even do one that a little bit of a crisscross. Again, it just kind of shows the beauty of just the thickness of them. But do as much or as little as you want to do. Okay, I think this is absolutely lovely. I am so glad that we had an opportunity to paint together. It is just under 30 minutes, and we did this beautiful blend of a little bit of wet on wet with our beautiful flowers And I love having these pictures. These ones are from, of course, from Carol's garden, and the other pictures in my camera to hold me over until I can start painting from life again. And we are getting so close. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your painting time. Thank you for painting with me, and I will see you again very